of The Summer I Turned Pretty is when I got really hooked. I devoured the book in 3 days and rushed to start the next one. Everything really has changed from book one. Susanna has passed away, Belly and Conrad broke up, and it feels like life is just falling apart. There was sadness and desperation for the way things used to be everywhere on the pages. The show did a fantastic job, though, in adapting the book. Almost everything that happened in the book happens in the show, but a lot of things were added. This, I believe, is because we have established character arcs for every character and they need more screen time. The books are really only about Belly, Conrad, and Jeremiah, but the show really expands on it. So like last time, I'm going to talk about everything that changed first from book to show, then address the things that have been kept the same. If you'd like to hear a recap or review of season 1, that'll be linked in the description box down below. Let's first address the biggest change. We get brand new characters. We got Aunt Julia, who is Susanna's sister, and her teenage kid Skye, who is non-binary. Aunt Julia is this season's main villain, as she, being co-owner of the cousin's beach house, wants to sell it. She says it's initially because she lives across the country and doesn't want to keep paying for it, which is incredibly valid. But it's revealed that she also has very bad memories of the house and had a strained relationship with Susanna and their father, and that made cousins a nightmare to visit. She wanted to get rid of the house as much as she wanted to get rid of her poor memories of that place. I think the real villain in all of this is Adam, Conrad and Jeremiah's dad. He is actually the one who places the beach house up for sale in the books. And in the show, he actively works with Julia to sell the house as quickly as possible, clearing out all of Susanna's things in the matter of a few hours, all while knowing just how much this house means to the boys, and he has the ability to buy the house. That's the craziest part. Is yes, he doesn't let the boys access their trust funds to buy the house, which fair, I can't blame him for that. But he is very well off, and he has more than enough funds and property, as we know, because he says that he can just sell the Boston house to buy the beach house from Julia. Aunt Julia may have bad memories in the house, but I don't see any reason for Adam to come across so heartless. Julia doesn't really have much of a reason to care about Conrad and Jeremiah's approval of the house selling plan, as she was never really involved in their lives. But Adam, on the other hand, Adam is their dad, who should have witnessed firsthand just how much Susanna wanted the boys to keep the house, and how much the boys just absolutely loved it and grew up there, basically. By helping Aunt Julia sell the house, that is, in my opinion, the deeper betrayal, especially since, Conrad and Jeremiah see the house as a connection to their mother, and he's actively working to get rid of it. You can never make me like Adam. I feel like he will always have my hate. Skye, on the other hand, was an interesting addition. I can't fully pinpoint the complete reasoning for adding this character. I think the idea was to take this sort of like abrasive Aunt Julia and maybe humanize her by having her kid call her out and attempt to bargain on the house selling conditions. Skye even helps bring about camaraderie in the main cast and group, going with them to the boardwalk, helping to set up a massive party at the beach house, and having some fun sleeping over at a country club after hours. We even get Cam Cameron back as they develop a little relationship that may or may not continue into season 3. But Skye wasn't successful in convincing their mom to stop the sale. Laurel was the one to talk some sense into her, not Skye. Skye and Aunt Julia definitely call into question Susanna's character and the potential family tension that was kept from Conrad and Jeremiah. It's true that every family has skeletons in their closets, but I'm not sure what the desired effect was. Susanna has already died, and yes, she does some questionable things, but it's mainly her decision-making around her sons and wanting one of them to end up with Belly that actually causes the main problems. If you've seen season 3, you know what I mean. So again, I question, why are we bringing up family issues in regards to Susanna when Adam is the one who's the main problem, in my opinion, of course. His decision-making in the book, from being kind of an absent father to cheating on Susanna to openly favoring one son over the other, these are the issues we should have been focusing on. Yes, Aunt Julia might add depth that was lacking in Susanna's character, but I think we missed the opportunity to really understand how broken the boys' relationship with their father is, especially with Susanna gone. Laurel has noticeably less screen time than the previous seasons. She is depressed and grieving for her friend, even if she refuses to mention it. She turns down therapy and can't even properly talk about the book she wrote in honor of Susanna, which coincidentally has the title It's Not Summer Without You, which is the title of the second book, which I thought was a cool touch. Belly and Laurel get into a fight in the first episode after Belly's guidance counselor informs her of Belly's low grades. Laurel intends to talk it over, wanting Belly to take responsibility for her actions and not use Susanna's death as an excuse. But instead, I feel like she comes off more as a hypocrite. She hasn't been there for her own children this past year, as she's been away for caring for Susanna and the boys. Belly even remarks that Laurel can't be suddenly concerned about volleyball, when she didn't even come to a single game in the past school year. Susanna dying only made things harder for Laurel, as now she's grieving her friend and only now realizing how on autopilot she is. That doesn't mean she won't try to be better, though. Laurel decides to finally start promoting her book despite how hard it is to talk about, and tries to spend some time with Stephen by getting brunch with him. She also works as a mediator when she's, finally informed of what Aunt Julia and Adam have been trying to do and selling the house and whatnot, and helps them see reason. I don't know if it's because I'm young and not a mom, but I didn't really like her this season. Yes, Belly needs someone to keep her accountable, but someone also needs to keep Laurel accountable. Personally, I think everyone should have gone to therapy, especially when Susanna died, but I think especially Laurel should have gone, since she keeps getting called upon to be a voice of reason for everyone. Cleveland comes back in episode 4, seemingly being a person who can get through to her, but I think Laurel really shouldn't have turned down therapy. Okay, moving on from the house debacle, let's talk about an anticipated relationship that blossomed this season. Taylor and Stephen. Like I said in the last episode, I didn't root for them because there wasn't much evidence on how that relationship would go. In the book, there is no such relationship. In fact, we only see Stephen and Taylor through 2 separate phone calls. One from Taylor wanting to attend the party that the Fisher brothers are throwing at the cousin's beach house, and the other one from Stephen saying he knows Belly isn't staying at Taylor's house and demands to know where she ran off to. That's pretty much it. They really have no further involvement. In the show, though, we see so much more. Stephen is valedictorian, having enrolled in Princeton, and seems motivated, dedicating part of his valedictorian speech to Susanna. But he's struggling in 2 notable ways. Firstly, the Fisher brothers haven't talked to him. Neither Conrad nor Jeremiah come to his grad party, and it seems they haven't put in any effort to hang out with Stephen at all. He blames Belly for this, having a huge public fight with her, which he later apologizes for. His second problem is the fact that he has feelings for Taylor. Stephen, last we saw him in season 1, was dating Shayla, but it's revealed she dumped him at the end of the summer and that she's now off in Europe. Stephen doesn't really seem upset about it anymore, as he pines for Taylor. The 2 of them are besties and joke constantly, but it's clear he slips in some flirting here and there. Taylor, though, is in her own little world. She's dating her soulmate, Milo, who is lead singer in a band. They have a very passionate relationship, and she seems content. But there are several moments when it's clear Taylor hasn't forgotten her first love. In episode 5, the pair end up dancing together alone in the country club ballroom. They both feel the tension of the moment and almost kiss before they are interrupted. Something I found really funny is when it's revealed that Taylor is team Jeremiah and Stephen is team Conrad. They even get into an argument about it, each believing a different brother is right for Belly. They really are just like us fans shipping Belly. I thought that was a really nice touch. By the end of the season, Taylor admits to Stephen that as her first love, she's afraid of starting something with him as she's in love and doesn't want things to end badly. He reassures her, and in the very last episode, they kiss and start a real relationship. I overall really like them as a couple. I like their characterizations way more than I do in the books. I enjoy the comedic relief they give to the plot, and as a whole, I can't wait to see more of them in season 3. Okay, now it's time for the main event. The love triangle between Belly, Conrad, and Jeremiah. The love triangle is pretty much exactly the same from book to TV, with maybe minor details being changed, so I'll just go from the past to the present. We begin by flashing back to the events of the end of last summer. Conrad and Belly are an item to nobody's surprise except Jeremiah's. As I mentioned in the last episode, Jeremiah and Belly never get together in the first book. She turns him down, and he seemingly accepts that, but warns Belly that Conrad might hurt her. The show is much more messy, with Jeremiah believing he and Belly are in an actual relationship. He is angry, and, rightfully so, as Belly tells him she's going to be with Conrad instead. She basically cheated on him with his brother, and I can't blame him for not wanting to speak to Belly again. I'd be the same way. Belly, though, does decide it would be for the best to not be in a relationship with Conrad at the moment and just to be friends so as to not break up the brothers. The let's just be friends only lasts for a few months. Conrad and Belly speak on the phone all the time, having hours-long conversations. He even drives all the way to her house to see her. Conrad finally builds up the courage to ask Jeremiah if it's okay to date Belly. Jeremiah is obviously still very angry, but tells Conrad to date Belly anyway. The two seem happy for a while. They sneak away to cousins over Christmas and share a romantic evening over hot cocoa. But as spring approaches, Susanna's cancer is worsening, and Conrad begins pulling away. He's more forgetful, and in the book, Belly basically had to pressure Conrad to go to the prom with her. She's trying to be there for him, but Conrad is closing himself off. And how can you be there for someone when they act like they don't care that you're there? It all comes to a head at prom. He forgot the corsage at the dorm, and while apologetic, he doesn't do much to make the night enjoyable. In the show, he's forced to the dance floor with Belly, but he can't wait to get off. When they go outside to talk, Belly is faced with the realization that their relationship is over. He wouldn't say it, but he's too far gone in his own head to be with Belly anymore. And Belly does not take this very well. She spends several months grieving, with her grades slipping and getting dropped from volleyball. We get an interesting insight into Jeremiah's head in chapter 13 of the book. He knows his mom is thrilled that Conrad was going to the prom with Belly, and he was hurt at how much she was rooting for them. He could tell Conrad didn't even care about the prom, and he thought to himself that if he was the one taking Belly to prom, he would have done everything right, especially not dumping her day off. Not too long after Conrad and Belly's breakup, Susanna passes away from cancer. Everyone is grieving deeply, and Belly goes into the funeral with the best intentions. But she walks in on Conrad being comforted by his ex-girlfriend, and all hell breaks loose. They get into an argument, with the gist of it being how he could be with someone else and let alone have someone else care for him, but he always pushed her away, and him shooting back with, and I quote, "Knew it was a bad idea to start something with you. It was a huge mistake." Belly basically remarks on the whole thing by saying she ruined the funeral by making a scene in front of everyone, and yeah, you kind of did, but I understand why she was hurt. I just think we gotta stop having arguments in front of crowds. Private conversations should be the norm instead of this constant yelling at each other in front of everyone thing that keeps happening in the show. Also, I think we need to think before we speak. Many people in this show keep blurting out things while they're angry, especially Belly and Conrad, and I think we just need to normalize taking a deep breath and adjusting our attitudes before we speak. Belly would be so much better off if she did this. Now on to the present. Like I said, neither Conrad nor Jeremiah have spoken to Belly in a while, and she is grieving them. What Belly doesn't expect is to suddenly hear from Jeremiah saying Conrad has gone missing. He took off and now won't answer his phone. Belly insists she's going to come help find him. Jeremiah in the show is notably not thrilled at her coming along, giving her the cold shoulder when he could. They first check back at Conrad's college, but he isn't there. His roommate, though, points them in the right direction. Conrad is back at Cousins, and the car ride tensions come to a head. In the book, Jeremiah basically says, in his point of view, that he can't stay mad at Belly for choosing Conrad over him when she's literally right there next to him and notably looking hot. In the show, Jeremiah is more emotional, revealing to Belly that while still hurt that she chose Conrad over him, he also felt abandoned by her and felt alone in dealing with his mom's death. They finally make up by giving each other a big hug. When they arrive at Cousins, Conrad cannot believe Belly and Jeremiah came. He wants to be left alone, especially after dropping the bombshell that the beloved beach house is now up for sale. Conrad has abandoned school early to stay at the beach house until he can figure out how to cancel the sale. Belly and Jeremiah, obviously, refused to leave him alone, insisting that they help stop the sale together. Conrad reluctantly lets them stay, and they begin planning. They, along with Steven, Taylor, and Skye, do what they can to sabotage the sale and get through to Aunt Julia, but when all hope seems lost, they instead decide to throw a gigantic party in honor of the house and Susanna. This major episode really begins the major trouble for Belly. Conrad and Stephen talk more, deciding maybe Belly has feelings and that maybe they can get back together. Jeremiah, though, feels as though he and Belly might be growing somewhere, so he is convinced that they can begin dating. In episode 6, when this party takes place, this tension grows with an almost kiss happening between Jeremiah and Belly. And obviously, major fights ensue. Jeremiah says that when something isn't perfect, Conrad just turns away. And that was what he did with Susanna and his relationship with Belly, and that he was a coward for it. Belly argues with Conrad later on that night, asking why he threw what they had away. And she basically comes to the conclusion that they just didn't love each other enough. Belly calls her mom drunk that night, crying because everything has gone wrong. Once Laurel is able to talk to Aunt Julia and Adam, and the sale is finally canceled, here comes the most painful part of both the book and the show. Because Conrad could fail if he doesn't return to college for his bio test, the group pulls an all-nighter to study with him. The next morning, hopes are up and the sun is shining. Jeremiah and Belly drive him to his college, and Conrad goes in with his head held high, feeling confident about the test. That's when he comes back to the car and sees Jeremiah and Belly kissing. Now, slight difference here. Jeremiah in the books kisses Belly rather abruptly, literally right after Belly started asking if Conrad ever talked about her. Here's the thing. In the book, Belly doesn't have all these potential flirty moments with Jeremiah. She's surprised by the kiss, but remarks it felt nothing like she ever experienced before. In the show, Belly has been feeling some things for Jeremiah. She does remark she doesn't think she'll love anyone as much as she loved Conrad, but Taylor can see clearly that maybe Belly is starting to develop feelings for Jeremiah. Belly remarks in a later episode before the kiss that she wants to evict Conrad out of her heart. She has gotten no signals from Conrad that he still has feelings for her. When she picks things up from Jeremiah, she's much more responsive. Conrad seeing Belly and Jeremiah's kiss is explosive and heartbreaking for him. He runs off and Belly goes after him. Notably in the books, Jeremiah is hurt that Belly ran after Conrad, and in the show, Jeremiah actually tells Belly to go and talk to him. So Conrad runs off angry and bitter, yet somehow returns to the car a little later, seeming off, smiling as if there's nothing wrong while making clear jabs at Jeremiah, clearly jealous and angry at both of them. The tension is made worse by a storm that's becoming dangerous enough that the trio need to pull into a motel for the night before returning Belly back home. Conrad confesses in the silence of the motel room that he didn't mean it when he said he never wanted her. Belly spends the night grappling with a pending decision both boys want her to make. Who will she choose? Who will she begin dating? In the show, we see more vulnerability with Jeremiah, with him insisting Belly talk to Conrad one-on-one about Conrad's feelings for her, and only then will he accept whatever decision she makes. Conrad and Belly do have a conversation, one that is notably absent from the books. He apologizes for the previous night's behavior and tells her he doesn't want to get in between her and Jeremiah, and that, they could be friends. I think Belly, though, wanted him to fight for her. She does take the infinity necklace and keeps it, but it's clear she isn't fully satisfied with this ending. It's so messy, but Conrad would have gotten what he wanted if he had just communicated more effectively. If he had let people help him, his relationship with Belly wouldn't have fallen apart. If he had told her he wanted to be with her instead of lashing out, saying many times that he shouldn't have gotten with her in the first place, well, then maybe they could have gotten back together. It makes complete sense to me for Belly to be gravitated towards someone who shows his feelings, who expresses that he likes her and makes her feel seen. Jeremiah wants Belly to care for him, and that was something Conrad never allowed. I obviously wish she wouldn't have gone from brother to brother, but it's not surprising what she decided to do, and that was to end up with Jeremiah. I know, as well as all of you by now, know where their relationship will go. But I think it started with genuine care, love, and excitement at being together. I think it's sad and complicated and a messy situation. Seemingly the only right answer is for everyone to either date anyone else or everyone just to be single for a while. But if you've ever been a teenager, you know it just wouldn't never be that simple. Overall, I loved season 2 way more than season 1. I don't know if it was the pacing or the flashbacks mixed with the present day actions, but I really felt like I could feel the confusion and the heartbreak of the situation. I do not think the book or the show had a happy ending. I wouldn't consider it that when we just had these tense conversations and devastating blows, but the plot ultimately makes me want to watch season 3 ASAP, especially as it's almost over. I will be posting season 3 the day after the series finale comes out, so please keep an eye out for that. I had so much fun making this video, and I hope you all enjoyed it. You can follow us on Instagram at AndCutThePodcast and TikTok by the same name. You can follow me at Caitlin.mp4 on Instagram, and make sure to check out our vlog channel, That Film Couple, which is linked down below. See you in the next one. And cut.